My name is William Lee Klaproth III. I am 21 years old.
My name is Brittany. I'm 24 years old.
April, and I'm 21 years old.
Ryan Urisic.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm 21 years old.
Alright, I'm Trevor, 22 now.
Hi, I'm Canyon. I'm 32 years old.
Michaela, I'm 26.
Erica, and I'm 52.
I grew up in Elk Grove, California. It's out of Sacramento.
I grew up in Alturas, California, the northeast corner of California.
And Hacienda Heights, California.
Grew up between San Francisco and Monterey, mostly.
Grew up in Elk Grove, Sacramento, California.
Grew up in Grass Valley.
Grew up in Quincy, California. It's a really, really small town in the mountains.
I grew up in Pinole, and then in 8th grade I moved to Wilton, California.
I was born in San Francisco, but I was adopted at 3 weeks of age, and I was raised from that point on in Berkeley, California.
It's very small. It's very homey. It's a good place to raise kids, but doesn't really provide a lot of opportunity for any time after high school, in my opinion. It's very cliquey, and they have like a strong country, I guess, like community, and they're very ignorant, and it's just not a very welcoming place once you learn more about the people that live there.
It is a very, very small place, less than 3,000 people. It's high desert, so it's pretty dry. Pretty dry terrain. It's really pretty. There's mountains. The people there are usually pretty conservative, but there's a lot of families there, so you get to know everyone pretty quickly, get to know individuals and their families, so there's a community there.
So there's like two sides. One side's more of like the richer, higher class, and then right over the freeways where I lived, it was like run down, a lot of gang action, a lot of people always getting arrested everywhere, and it's scary walking at night, so where you couldn't walk alone.
Well, San Francisco was awesome. Monterey was also great for different reasons, mostly for the scenery. And people were cool both places.
Stupid. It was fine, stupid. Can I cuss in this? Alright, cool. It was good, it was fine, but it's just like small suburban city, and it was just like dumb. There was nothing to do but like drink and like smoke and like just hang out with friends. Like I had a great time, but like I'm really glad I got out when I did, or else like it's one of those towns that like swallows you.
It's small. It's like a mix of either really conservative people or like really liberal people. It's like pretty polarized. But everyone does everything outside, so they have a lot in common.
It's maybe the prettiest place on earth. It's like this tiny little pinpoint of about 4,000 people in the middle of the Sierra Nevadas. So it's just like all these little streets poking out into the mountains. And downtown it's like this old west kind of like relic with like a bunch of artsy like murals and little like coffee shops and theaters and stuff. It's pretty cute.
Pinole is small. It's in the East Bay, and it's a good place to grow up. Everyone pretty much knew each other, even though the Bay Area is a big place. Pinole is pretty small. We all pretty much knew everyone and hung out with everyone. It was right next to the water, which was cool. I remember as a kid going to the water a lot, and my best friend lived next door to me. And Wilton, on the other hand, was smaller. It was predominantly filled with white people who, not all, of course, but for the most part, seemed to have conservative views. And so it was a struggle to go from a place that was very diverse into a place that wasn't. And I felt like I was sad for like the first couple years that I lived there, because even though like I made an effort to make friends, I just felt like I didn't really click with anyone. Everyone was already kind of clicked together, and so I felt left out. And from going from a place where I was like really, I guess, popular in a way, I had a lot of friends, to a place where I just had myself and my family, which was enough, but also not enough.
I think, well, my main memory, I actually lived in Kensington, which Kensington is super small and it bordered Berkeley. But for me, Berkeley was, I spent a lot of time as a teenager. When I had free time to myself, I would go to Telegraph Avenue. Telegraph Avenue led up to the university, Cal, Berkeley University. And the whole street on the weekends, on both sides, it was very college, atmosphere. But both sides of Telegraph would have vendors, artworks, ceramics, t-shirt, all the kind of stuff that, artists would make, and earrings, that kind of stuff. And that was something I really liked to do, is just go up and down Telegraph, and you get coffee and, pizza or whatever you wanted. And then across the street on UC Berkeley campus, there was a quad area, and there was these African drummers that would gather there pretty much, I don't know, all the time from what I knew. And so I'd like to go and just kind of be in the background and listen to that and just be in the sun. And my father liked to spend a lot of time on the campus, so I kind of feel like I was hanging out with my dad when I was on the campus. And other than that, being on Telegraph Avenue on my days off. And Berkeley was just a small town when I was there, when I was growing up. Small town feel. But yeah, kind of a bit of a sheltered life growing up as a kid. It was just my sister and I, and my mom opened a bakery by the time I was 11. So it was school, for me it was school and working at the bakery and babysitting, and that was about it until I, finished school and went to college.
I regard it very positively. I believe it's how I became the person I am today, because of my parents, and also because of the people that I met when I started leaving the house more. And those were like the family that I chose for myself, and surrounded myself with like positive people. Yeah, there was a couple people towards the time that right before I left to come here to Chico, that just gave me so many life lessons in such a short time that I felt like I wasn't doing enough to go and exercise those lessons. So that's why I'm here.
I think my upbringing was mostly positive, although there was some negative as well. There's a lot of caretaking on my part, which I think is shown in who I am as an adult. I try to be a caretaker, even maybe when it's not necessary. Yeah, I think the struggles that I've had have just helped me see the world for what it is, and see that you can turn a negative into a positive.
Honestly, my upbringing was, I would say, a mixture of positive and negative. I found the positive in the negative, so it made me a really strong person. It made me think about what I wanted for my future, what I wanted for my future kids, and how I wanted to continue my life and just like never give up. Like, I didn't really have guidance, so I learned from all my mistakes. I had so many mistakes that I would say I would regret, but honestly it made me who I am today. And I grew up really fast as a young kid. I grew up in the foster system, so growing up fast really made me like strong-minded and knew like I can just like never give up, because if I do, I could have ended up like many of the people I used to hang out with back in the day. I try and look at everything positively, because whether or not it's a positive or negative experience, you learn from it. My parents are great. They're fantastic. We have a great relationship. My mom and dad are like kind of opposite. So like I feel like I took a lot of good stuff from them. My mom's really like soft and like nice and like, oh, can I get you anything? And like, excuse me, she's just like so nice. And then my dad, he was a cop. He was a sheriff for like 30 years. And so he's kind of more, he uses the term like realistic, but he's just like kind of pessimistic about everything. He sees things as they are and not the positive way. And so through them both, like I have this really good outlook of like I can choose to see things in a good light and like, you know, treat people kindly, blah blah blah, but like I'm not like ignorant. I'm not like, I'm very aware, and like I don't blindly trust people, and like I have really good friends and really good people that surround me, and like I feel like I get everything from my parents. So like, yeah, it was a pretty good upbringing. They did everything for me, and yeah.
I think it was overall positive. I had a really good mom, and I think the negative parts made me a better person, because I don't know, I think some struggle is good. I think it makes you able to relate to people more, and just teaches you how to deal with adversity better, I guess.
Oof, okay. My upbringing was a really weird combination of like very, very positive, because I had like parents and a family that like loved me very much, but also very, very negative because it was like steeped in this like extremely like repressive, oppressive, like conservative, religious, like everything. Like church was 2 to 3 times a week, and it was very like, if it's not in the Bible, it's not real. And I was like a tiny little gay, genderqueer kid, so like there was a lot of me like knowing that who I was like bad and wrong, and trying to like deal with those feelings. I think today it's made me like a very, I think, resilient person, but also in some ways I have a lot of stuff to heal. I have some tools to like encourage people to maybe like step out of ways in which they're being forced into a box that doesn't fit them, because I know how good it feels to get out of that box. Yeah.
I saw it as very negative originally. I saw it as like a 60-40, I guess. I feel like that made me miss out on the positive side of it, because now I realize there's a lot of positive in my upbringing that created this, and so I think it made me, like today as a person, well today I feel good, but it made me into someone who just doubted myself, I guess, and didn't really believe I was a good person, even though like all my friends like would swear by it, and I was just almost against myself most of the time. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what I feel.
Oh, I think it has a huge part of who I am today. Just, yeah, I mean, the whole nature versus nurture kind of thing. I mean, I didn't have a computer, I didn't have a TV, I didn't have much electronics or technology to keep me busy and occupied as a young child. So I spent a lot of time outside, hung with the family dog. There was a creek on the other side of our property. We had a fence line, but I could access the creek behind our property. So me and my dog Sam, we spent a lot of afternoons after school going up and down the creek. I dug this hole in the ground, and I did like pottery out of dirt. I made these little pots and dishes, and my mom saved them. So I mean, I think, yeah, just my environment and what I had to deal with affected who I am today, and also my family, how I was raised has a lot of making me who I am today, I'd say.
It's fun and challenging because I'm still working out who I am.
It's changing as I get older. It can be awkward to be me. I think I embody doubt a lot of the time, but I think that makes me, on the flip side, makes me a curious person.
It's crazy.
Well, it changes all the time. Right now, it's pretty cool. I suspect that I'm pretty cool, but it's a little bit lonely right now. So, just kind of making it through that. Feels like a passing phase, but I'm okay with it.
Sweet me?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. I don't know. I try and have as much fun as I can and like do as much and try not to be lazy. And
I recently learned that the self is created, and the choices that you can make to make yourself happier.
Yeah, I'd say I question a lot, and I'd say I care a lot. And so it's very alert to be me, maybe.
yeah, it's like to be me. I'd say I'm a very creative, strong, independent person. I have a strong persona. A lot of people, it's hard for a lot of people to get along with, but I've always tried to say like I try to be the nicest person I can, and sometimes like my bitch face makes it seem like I'm mean or I'm hard to approach, but once you really get to know me, you're like, oh damn, you're not what I expected you to be.
For a while, I was, feeling lonely just because my whole life has changed over this last year, and I wanted to isolate, just be by myself. And I realized recently that, like, even when I'm with my friends, I still kind of feel alone. Like, not every one of them wants to connect on a really genuine level, at least not right away. So I don't know. I guess I'd rather feel lonely because I was spending time alone than to spend time with others and feel that way.
I've been noticing like specifically with like school and college and work and like trying to fit in like a life in between that is really difficult because like I want to go do it. Like I'm happiest when I'm like outside, when I'm like exploring, adventuring, like like making memories and like doing fun things. Obviously, that's what everyone does. But like it's hard because you have to work to support having fun, but then you have to go to school because like for some reason that's a thing. And so you have to make time for the homework, to make time for the school, to make time for work, and then you don't have enough time for yourself. It's a funky time, but like I'm still learning. Like I'm fucking 21 years old.
Gosh, I don't know. I only know what it's like to be me. I don't know what it's like to be anybody else. I feel pretty lucky overall. Like I have some of the best circumstances in the whole world, I guess.
Whoa. Okay. It's fun. It's painful.
It's hard. I think I don't really know. think I'm still trying to figure that out, or not really figure it out, you know? A lot of times I'm always like, oh, am I in the right place, or am I doing the right things? I don't know, I kind of would rather someone else answer that for me.
Depends. Most days it's good to be me. I try to be happy and focus on the good things that I have. But also, life throws you curveballs. And I think you have to try and do the best with what you've got. And always trying to find a silver lining. I don't know, I'm not perfect. And so I think there's things that I do wrong or things that I could do better. But I also know at the end of the day I'm a good person and I have a good heart. And just try and focus on that, I guess, trying to be good and trying to be positive and be thankful and humble and appreciative and gracious. I've probably taken a lot of things for granted that I should, but I don't know. I'm only human, you know, and I try and learn from my experiences, learn from my mistakes. I know I'll make more mistakes, but I think that's part of being human, you know, just realizing that there's a vulnerability to being real, you know. I'm trying to be okay with that.
It's always expanding into something else. Most of the time it's like something that I didn't really see coming, or like maybe deep down inside I did, but not enough to expect it.
Like, I live in a great place. I'm pretty stable. I don't have any like overwhelming mental health issues. I have great friends. Yeah, pretty stoked to be me.
I think the thing I feel the most, either I feel heartbroken or I feel freaking ecstatic. And it's usually something on one of those two extremes. Yeah.
But I would like to say it's fun, hard, and it's a struggle to just let go and just live with that. And so I feel like, yeah, it's I feel like I don't know who I am yet.
To get back to your question, what's it like to be me? I think for them, I would hope to say that it's a good thing to be me. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to find the good things and smile and laugh and find humor, laugh at myself, and know that there's always hope. Yeah, that's a bit of a hard question, because I would say before I got to the point where I wasn't happy in my marriage, I would say, oh, life is great. It's great to be me. I'm totally happy. I'm living the dream life. But a lot of that has changed, and I'm trying to get back to that, I'd say. Man, that was long-winded, huh?
I try to participate as much as I can in life, as deeply as I can, as intensely as I can, and trying to have a good attitude about it. That was something I learned last year in an English class, that life is 90% attitude and 10% showing up. And as long as you know that, and you know that you can't change the weather and you can't change how people feel about you, the only thing you can change is your attitude, and that makes things a little bit easier. The world needs more humans treating humans like humans. That's something that I see a lot of that not happening lately.
I think the world just needs more love.
Love.
A couple of things, for sure. I mean, the thing I see the least of that would be the most helpful in a day-to-day life would be patience. Like, maybe awareness, you know, that like on average the typical person doesn't seem to be in the moment that they're in. So we could use more of that.
I feel like understanding, compassion.
Compassion, empathy, understanding, patience.
Consideration, thoughtfulness.
I guess before now, I would say the world needs more love, or the world needs more compassion for one another. The world needs to be able to put themselves in other people's shoes, to feel what they have felt so that they can understand.
I work at a company that employs mostly adults with disabilities, and it is very sad to see how neglected they are as humans. And it's really warming when you treat them like humans and they see that, and they in turn treat you as you should be treated.
So I think people just maybe need to slow down. I know I need to slow down a lot of the time. And just appreciate everything, even when I maybe don't understand it initially. And I think if there's more of that in the world, it can't really be a bad thing.
The world needs a lot more love and acceptance, and I think the world needs to just know that we're all human and we're all come in different shapes, sizes, but we all bleed the same color. So I don't think we should be fighting each other or trying to like bring each other down, because there's no reason for that.
Not relying on a screen, relying on what's in front of you, relying on something that's tangible, relying on basic things that can bring happiness. It shouldn't, I mean, it'd be nice to not always have to feel like, or either feel like or actually partake in trying to find something that brings happiness to ourselves. You know, look within.
Our world is so like, we as a society are so quick to jump to conclusions, kind of judge people and not, what's the word, empathetic, I guess? Like not see their side.
Putting yourself in other people's shoes and trying to see that maybe you would think like someone else if you had their circumstances, instead of just being too quick to judge.
People helping other people for free, I think.
But right now, I feel like I think the world needs to be more present, to be focused on what is in front of them, but also being able to feel those moments, to really, really feel those moments, and all moments, not just being out in the wilderness, also when you're in the shower or when you're just sitting down. I think we need to realize that those are also moments to be enjoyed too. Washing your hands, doing the dishes. I think we just do things to get to the next thing. And if we just sit still and be present, I feel like we'd actually enjoy things. I don't know.
I mean, things are right in front of us that we can totally appreciate, and if we allow them in our lives, they can add a lot to our lives and enrich our lives. I think so many of either people my age or younger generations, we're relying on outsourcing, you know, and so I think we lose some of that, some basic connections is what we could use a lot of.
We're so consumed with this idea of like wealth and power and like being the best at whatever you're doing. I just don't think that that's what life is about. Like I try and live my life to satisfy myself and to like just genuinely like be a fucking good person. And like a lot of people I feel like just don't understand each other know that like we don't want to understand them, don't want to take the time for it, but like I feel like understanding is a really big one. Because a lot could be solved by just taking the time to like hear another person's opinion and like work it out. Respect each other and like all the good stuff, love and stuff like that. But
What does love mean to you?
love,
Love is more than a feeling. Love is it's a way of life.
Maybe love means peace.
It's accepting everything around you, accepting the people, accepting the conditions. Love is sharing your experiences and your knowledge and your love with other people, especially the people that reject it because they need it the most.
Love is understanding and acceptance, and love is patience.
Love is a huge word, and it's different for every occasion, I would say. So love for a friend is different than the love you would have for your family, which is also different than the love you would have for your spouse or for your child. But it's all very similar.
Lots of different things. For sure it means like putting others in front of you, like before you. So, yeah, if you're a loving person, you have a lot of time to give to others, for sure.
happiness, I feel like. Overall, love is something that brings you joy. Like, I could say I love this beer, or like I love this plant, and like, I mean that. Like, this might be my favorite plant ever, but like with another person, it's like you're just overwhelmed with joy. And like, I associate love and like happiness really closely because I feel like that's what it should be.
Love means, yeah, just not constant conflict. Love means acceptance.
Love is huge. It's not just one category, it's many.
Not love in a romantic sense as much as just like trying to understand people, where they come from, and loving them regardless of if they're saying something or doing something that you don't agree with in that moment.
I think it means being completely crazy about someone or something while destroying in yourself the desire to control or possess that thing or person. Yeah.
I mean, love is constant, I think, but it does change depending on what the love is about. If it's for something inanimate, if it is for something personal, yeah. Constant yet change, like a river or water. You know what I mean? It's always there, but it can do a lot of beautiful things. It can do a lot of damage. I don't know, maybe that's harsh because love is supposed to be such a beautiful thing, but I mean, it can be painful too, I think, you know? Otherwise, you don't really feel it.
Love is powerful. Love has to be the most powerful thing in the world that is seemingly intangible until you feel it through your own skin. And I love love. It's one of my favorite things.
It's one of those like really heavy words that should mean something, because it does mean something. And I think I'm still trying to figure that out. Yeah. Yeah.
got a little tingle in my body. I think it's warmth. That feeling of always wanting to be connected. And that feeling of like being warm without a blanket. I don't know. It holds you.